Okay, so here we are live once again with another one of the bootleg Neca Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie unboxings, and this is Donatello. And let me just make sure that the camera's working and everything. How's everybody doing today? Everybody doing good? I hope everybody's doing good. Yep, it looks like it's working. All right. So, anyway, we opened Michelangelo in the last episode, and I'd mentioned how these boxes had gotten kind of smashed up during transit. And you can see that it's not quite as smashed up as Michelangelo's. It's not quite as good as Leonardo's. It's certainly not as bad as Raphael's. But you can hear there's a piece rattling around in here, so it did get smashed up enough that there's a piece rattling around. And like with Michelangelo, we got a full portrait of the figure over here on the side. I'm pretty sure that you're supposed to put all the boxes together and form a picture that way. Do I still have that box? Yeah, I still have that box. So there's the Michelangelo box. And I'm not sure how they're all supposed to fit together, but I'm pretty sure they're all supposed to fit together. But Michelangelo and Donatello, I don't think go directly together. So we'll figure that out. We will figure all that out. Sorry, I just woke up, so I'm still kind of tired. But here we are on the back. Donatello looking pensive. Donatello ready for action. Donatello eating a pizza. And then we've got the picture of all four of the boys down here, recreating the pose from the VHS cover. Donatello looking pensive. He likes to look pensive. Donatello looking impatient. That's what the top of the box looks like. That's what the bottom of the box looks like. All right, let's go ahead and open them up. And like with some of the animated, it's got the Neca logo in the FHE kind of style, like some of the animated figures have. Which makes sense because FHE put out the video cassette for the movie too. They must have had a really good deal when they got the rights to Ninja Turtles. Anyway, go ahead and get that out. And I believe that's the same background that Michelangelo had with the sewer tunnel and the ladder. And Donatello's hand was just rattling around in there. That was what that was. It had somehow fallen out of the packaging. And his other accessories include the extra bandana piece, and both of Donatello's hands are in this kind of pointing gesture kind of thing. And it looks like they can still grip. Like you could still put a bow staff into those hands, but it's kind of more set up almost like a loose sort of grip. Where did I put that other hand? I just had it. I see both of Michelangelo's thumbs up hands. There it is. Okay, it's over here on the other side. But yeah, you could probably use this as like an alternate grip. I don't think it would tightly grip a bow staff. But if you had one hand holding the bow staff, this one could be like the secondary hand holding it. And you could make it look like there's an actual grip on it. But it wouldn't actually like grip it, I don't think. So I was watching another video talking about these figures, the official release of the NECA figures, and that one was saying that the hands were kind of soft and rubbery, and I'm like, yep, these are definitely bootlegs because these hands are not soft at all. And then we have the pizza slice. These hands are the same kind of somewhat pliable, but mostly rigid plastic that the rest of the figure seems to be made out of. And then we've got Donatello out of the package, and his bandana seems like it's in a bit more loose than Michelangelo's, so it was a little easier to get out. And he's got the same sort of like ribbons, they're kind of tied around there. And I think that technically that's what's supposed to hold the bow staff in. Like in the movie, I think that those straps are what's supposed to hold it in. But they seem a little tightly tied to be able to hold a bow staff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit it in there. But it seems like to me that that's the straps that are supposed to hold the bow staff when he's storing it. This one seems loose enough. I can kind of fit it in there. So you can kind of hold it like that. Or you can tuck it underneath the belt on the chest. Now, the belt on the chest, I kind of feel like is a little high on the figure. Earth Dude is here. It says, "Happy holidays, dude. Thanks, you too." And says, "We Batman." Which, of course, we are. Batman can be anybody, except Robert Pattinson, apparently. But yeah, in the video I was talking about, he pointed out that these bandanas can lay on either side of the head. I'm not going to put it all the way back in, but you see how it's kind of molded to lay on this side of the head, whereas this other bandana is made to lay on the other side of the head. So if you want to recreate a certain scene where they've got it hanging off of whatever side, you can do that. Now, you can't really recreate a scene where it's hanging over both sides of his shoulders, but I guess you can't have it all, can you? You know, try to see if I can get this in there all the way this time. That's what she said. And of course, since they're removable, they are somewhat posable. You can rotate them around, but it seems like it's a much, even though it didn't go all the way in, maybe because it didn't go all the way in, maybe that's the reason why it didn't go all the way in. The hole that holds the bandana in Donatello's head, I think it might be slightly tighter than the one on Michelangelo. And you can see that unlike some of the bootlegs that I've seen videos about on YouTube here, let's see if I can adjust this strap. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But unlike some of the other videos that I see on YouTube talking about this, Grant G is here and says Donatello looks great. I think so. He does not have the sort of yellow lips that I'd seen on some of the bootlegs. Some of the bootlegs, they kind of overdid, I guess, the dry brushing on the lips and gave him kind of yellow lips. But his seems a little more uniform, and he's got the same sort of spots on him that Michelangelo has. They're placed in different spots. So I kind of accidentally pulled the belt out of the notch where the shell is supposed to be glued down. I guess the glue came loose. But I feel like this strap, the belt, sits kind of high on his chest. Now, granted, in the movie, Donatello's belt, I kind of feel like sits kind of high. But I think they got it a little bit higher than it should be. And really, that you see where the groove is in the front of his shell, the plastron, if you want to get like really technical about it. The way that the figure is set up, the belt is supposed to sit above that top groove like that. But in the movie, as far as I can tell, it's supposed to sit just under that top groove, more like about like that. That's really how it should look. But Neca kind of made the shoulder strap a little too short for it to fit on there properly. And it gets pulled up in the back like that if you're messing around with it too much. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that that's supposed to be glued down into that little that square hole there. This is a square peg for a square hole. And it's supposed to fit in like that. So his belt is, by design, it's supposed to ride way high up on his chest. Earth Dude says his turtle pants are hiked up like Urkel. And I think that might be why, actually. I think that might be what they were going for in terms of why Donatello's belt is so high. Like, it's a subtle hint that Donatello is a nerd. He's wearing his pants too high, like Urkel. I think that, and Urkel was like a popular character, I think, around the time they were making this movie. So it might have been something that was in the back of their mind, or, you know, maybe even like in the forefront of their mind. Hey, we'll make him a nerd like Urkel kind of thing. But he does have that little bit of articulation underneath the shell. So you can see that moving around. And he doesn't move back quite as far as Michelangelo, I don't think. I think there's still a little bit of space there. And I didn't point this out before, but you can see there's also like some darker green paint on the skin in between the shell and the rest of his skin, that kind of loose skin that I guess, you know, retracts when they pull their heads back into their shells because they love being a turtle. But yeah, I think that might be why they put the belt so high. As far as visual cues that Donatello is a nerd, I think I prefer something really subtle like that over him having like actual nerd glasses with tape in the middle. You know, like I kind of hate that became a thing after Michael Bay. And I look forward to the day when we can just stop doing that, when we can get rid of the nerd glasses on Donatello and get rid of the do-rag on Raphael, and just let them have the same turtle uniform as the rest of the boys. You know, Michelangelo is not wearing surfer jams, and Leonardo isn't wearing like a Boy Scout uniform. Like, why do we need to have visual cues on the other two boys? Anyway, this is something I might not have noticed if it wasn't pointed out in one of the other videos. But there actually is like a little bit of a seam there, right where the strap should meet the edge of the shell, but it isn't quite on my version. And maybe that's because I was messing around with the belt some. But where it looks like the strap would have been kind of worn a little bit, where like it would rub up against the shell. So there's like a little bit of wear and tear there, which I think is interesting. Donatello has a very interesting face sculpt, I think. And I think they did a better job with Donatello's face sculpt than Michelangelo. And one of the things that's a little more distinct about Donatello is he has that snout that kind of points down a little bit more, like the earliest Ninja Turtle design, like what we saw in the earliest comics, where you can see on this Raphael figure here, the NECA that's based on the first issue, that he's got a snout that kind of points down a little bit more and kind of overlaps over his mouth, and that Donatello kind of has that going on more than any of the other boys. The Raphael and Leonardo and Michelangelo face sculpts, the mouth is more sort of straight across, which is similar to how they were drawing the boys' mouths in the comics at the time, what the art style kind of evolved into. But Donatello has just that slightly more old school type of snout and mouth, where the lower lip kind of overlaps a little bit in the middle here. And I kind of feel like that's appropriate because Peter Laird has gone on record as to say that Donatello is the turtle that he identifies the most with, and that is his favorite of the boys. And, you know, making his face a little more old school than the others, considering how Peter Laird could be a little more particular about certain things than Kevin Eastman was, a little less compromising. Kevin Eastman seemed to be kind of like, oh, sure, if it's going to make me some money, let's go ahead and add a fifth turtle in there, make her a girl. Why not? Whereas Peter Laird was like, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my entire life, and you're stupid for coming up with that idea. I never want to talk about it ever again. But yeah, you know, I kind of feel like that makes sense for the guy who's Peter Laird's favorite turtle, that he would look the most old school. I kind of feel like that is a good design choice. And it kind of gives him this funny facial expression some of the times, because it's almost that sort of facial expression. Like he's a little frustrated by something. that kind of thing. It's also interesting because Jim Henson, of course, Jim Henson's Creature Shop designed these turtles. And of course, the thing that Jim Henson was most famous for of all is the Muppets. And who's the most famous Muppet but Kermit the Frog? And it's an expression that does kind of remind me of like the expression that Jim Henson would give to Kermit the Frog through the puppet when he would get kind of annoyed with something that sort of expression. And it would not surprise me to learn. I don't know. I've never heard Jim Henson like espouse any kind of particular preference for any of the boys, but it would not surprise me to learn that Donatello was also Jim Henson's favorite Muppet, because he does have that. He's a little more gentle than the rest of the boys, and he's definitely more intellectual than any of the other boys. So, but he would be like kind of like the most sort of pacifist, the least prone to violence. You know, he's gonna fight back if he's gotta. He's gonna defend himself, and he's gonna defend others. And in fact, one of my favorite moments with Donatello ever in the comics is in the City at War storyline, where Donatello is injured and without any other sort of weapon, and he's forced to blow somebody away, forced to blow away a villain with a submachine gun, because he has no other option to defend himself and defend other people that this bad guy is threatening. And that's something that actually kind of traumatizes Donatello, and he's got to take some time off and kind of recover from it. He's got some PTSD. Sorry, I always get those confused. It's my dyslexia. He's got some PTSD over the whole thing, and it's good stuff. You don't really see that kind of stuff in superhero comics. And the Ninja Turtles have never been typical superheroes, but let's face it, they wear masks, they fight crime, they're superheroes, you know. And also Donatello, I noticed in the movie, and you can see it in this figure. He's got like a little bit of a double chin, like a little bit of a subtle double chin. Like most of the boys, like their chin kind of ends with their lower lip. Like their chin would end like right about here, as the Ninja Turtles are usually drawn. But Donatello's chin actually goes down a little bit further, and I don't know if you can see that in the figure, but he's actually got like a little bit of a lip and then a little bit of a chin. So it gives it almost kind of like a double chin sort of effect. And I think Donatello's face is just kind of the most unique, and seems like it had the most effort put into it of any of the other boys, as far as like trying to make it look like a unique face. And that was something, like I mentioned during the Michelangelo video, that was not something that was really a thing in the earliest designs of the Ninja Turtles. You look at like the way they were designed in the comic book or the way they were designed on the cartoon, is they were all kind of designed to look identical. And even in the cartoons and the toys, you know, when they started trying to find ways to differentiate them with the different color bandanas and the different belt buckles, and of course they always had different weapons. You know, it seems to me like they were all still drawn to look kind of identical physically, but with the movie they decided to put a little more of an effort into giving them at least slightly different faces that looked unique to each other. And that's something that kind of became standard going forward. I mean, like on the 2002 cartoon, they were all still drawn to look kind of identical. But if you think about like the 2012 Nickelodeon cartoon, or I try not to think about it, but the Michael Bay movie, or you know the Mutant Mayhem, like all the more sort of modern versions, Rise of the Ninja Turtles. They all kind of have unique shaped faces, and usually Donatello, I kind of feel like usually he has like the most narrow sort of face. Oh, I've got the Nick Donatello here, and you can see he's got like a little bit more of a narrow face than the boys usually have, but not so with this guy. He's still got like a wide turtle face, and maybe the widest of the turtle faces. But anyway, also you notice like we've opened a lot of Michelangelo figures over the past few weeks, and of course I opened the Turtles of Grayskull Donatello a while back, and you'll notice like there's wide variation as to what color that the bandana is on this boy. Like sometimes it can be, this one's a very rich, deep. This is kind of like a neutral purple, I'd say. And then the original toy, this is an original vintage Donatello. It's a little more on the bluish side. Some of them have been a little more on the reddish side, almost kind of pinkish purple. And some of them have been very light in tone. Some of them have been dark enough of a purple that it almost looks black, like the Neca bootleg, the Donatello in this style. His bandana is almost black. It's so dark. But this guy, his bandana is probably the most washed out of any of them I've seen. It's definitely more of a lavender sort of color, and it's very pale, and it's not a very, very intense shade of purple. It's almost gray. It's so washed out. But yeah, they did a great job capturing the look of this particular turtle. I have to say that I like the look of this one right out of the package a lot more than Michelangelo. Oh man, I should have brought the Michelangelo figure over here to show you, because I did repaint his eyeballs, and I think he looks a lot better now. I'll just have to try to remember to have him in a future episode. I did put a community coast, if you haven't seen it. Earthdude said the audio went. It muted. Well, why did it do that? I didn't tell it to do that. Is it back yet? Is it back yet? I'm going to take that as a yes. All right. So I don't know why it did that. Sorry about that. But anyway, about what point in my ramble did it go out? Did you hear me talking about the bandana colors? I don't know. I've only got one person watching now, and that's probably me. Well, he might have tried to turn it off and on again, but yeah, I'm looking at the little display down at the bottom, and it's got a little picture of the microphone on it, and it's got the little green dots that are going back and forth as I talk. So I don't know. I didn't notice anything like that at the time. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation of this guy while my microphone's still working. So Donatello can look up about that far, look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, which is good for Donatello. Like, he's a quizzical guy. And, that's the kind of thing he would look at Michelangelo like that. Michelangelo says something particularly stupid. So head over to Diecast is here and says, hi, nice. I made it on my lunch break. Yeah, you did. I should mention one of my favorite scenes in the Ninja Turtle movie is where it's a lot of people's favorite scene. I see it mentioned a lot as far as, when people talk about their favorite scenes in the movie. So I'm hardly unique in this. But it's the scene right after Splinter has given them his big speech about how, like, I'm not going to be with you forever, that thing. And Donatello actually, being the most intellectual of the boys. He's wanting to talk to somebody about it, and he tries to talk to Michelangelo about it. And Michelangelo, of course, is more worried about the pizza getting there on time. The pizza dude's got 30 seconds. That whole, you think it was yours? Well, maybe it was yours, but you're back, so that's good. But yeah, so Michelangelo is not trying to be callous or trying to be unfeeling, but it's he can't deal with it. He can't deal with the idea of losing Splinter, so he can't even talk about it with Donatello. But I like that they had, no, you're good. I like that they had the guts to have a scene, and part of it is just, like I said, the artistry of Jim Henson's Creature Shop, that these guys knew what they were doing, that they could create puppets. I mean, he's been doing it. He was able to do it with just like a frog that he made out of his mom's coat and a ping pong ball. But to be able to elicit emotions out of these creatures that they create, that you didn't really need a physical, like a flesh and blood human being. You could get a scene like that between these two animatronic turtles, where they're both kind of dealing with what their adoptive father, has said in different ways. And Donatello's trying to reach out to his younger brother and talk about this, and the younger brother can't deal with it. And it's a great scene, and it says so much about the characters, and helps to set up the characters a lot. And of course, we've already established that Raphael is cool but rude, and that Leonardo leads. So I kind of feel like Donatello and Michelangelo definitely needed Donatello. Michelangelo had like, some funny parts up there in the movie, but they needed something to kind of establish a little bit of a serious side for him. And I thought that scene was a good showcase for both Donatello and Michelangelo. Anyway, got off on I did want to make sure I talked about that a little bit. Oh, and I should mention that Donatello in the movie was voiced by Corey Feldman, who was kind of in his teen idol phase at the time. Corey Feldman at the height of his popularity, and I'm kind of surprised that they had him playing Donatello, whereas like you would think they probably would have had him playing like Raphael, because he did have kind of like the sort of like edginess to him as an actor, the characters he was tending to play at that time. I'm thinking about like the Lost Boys or something, or Michelangelo, again, because Michelangelo tends to get the best lines. But they cast him as Donatello. And it's also interesting because Robbie Rist, who at that time was probably best known for playing Cousin Oliver, but had a very successful career in animation voiceover at the time, and mainly was known for playing kind of brainy characters, like on Dungeons and Dragons and Kid Video. He played the brainy characters. You would think they would have cast him as Donatello, but no, they kind of reversed it and cast them both against type, and I think both of them did a great job playing their respective characters, so it worked out really well. But anyway, yeah, Corey Feldman was Donatello in the first movie, and I think that's the reason why Donatello actually has a beefed up role in the second one. They figured, well, we got Corey Feldman, we might as well use him. So Donatello kind of had like the spotlight of all the boys, I kind of feel like, in the second movie. But unfortunately, Corey Feldman had some addiction issues at the time and was unable to fill the role for that movie. So ironically, it went to somebody else. But that's the way the ball bounces, I guess, sometimes. Anyway, going back to the articulation, as I pointed out before, the bandana has some articulation to it, so you can get that into kind of a nice wind-swept pose, which is how I prefer to have the bandanas displayed whenever I'm posing the boys. And of course, the arms rotate all the way around the shoulders, and they raise up to the sides about that far. He's going to have pretty much the same articulation as Michelangelo. I'm pretty sure that the arms and the legs and the underneath part of the torsos are the same on all of these figures, and they just swapped out the heads and the shells. They do have different front pieces for the shells and different back pieces for the shells. When we open up Raphael, I believe that he's the one who's going to have the most sort of scuffs and marks in the back of his shell, and I think that there's some other differences, some other subtle differences. Like I said, they tried to put kind of subtle differences into these boys when they made the movie, but like I'm pretty sure they just reused the arms and the legs, because why wouldn't you? Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so he's got double jointed elbows which rotate all the way around, where the elbow meets the the upper arm and where the elbow meets the forearm, so you can kind of rotate the forearm around like that. And they bend about that far. The elbow pad does kind of get in the way. You know what I forgot to do, and I'm going to do real quick. I forgot to read the bio on the back, which is going to be partially the same as Michelangelo, but partially not. Now you can catch America's favorite green teens in their first live-action blockbuster film. After wading through a puddle of radioactive waste, these radical reptiles are transformed into New York City's greatest crime-fighting quartet. Michelangelo, well, it still says Michelangelo. So they're all going to have the same bio on the back here, I think. Even though it says Donatello, it's still got Michelangelo's bio on the back. So that might be another hint that these guys are bootlegs. Anyway, he does actually have a little bit of torso articulation at the upper part of the shell. So you can bend forward about that far, bend back about that far, and kind of bend from side to side about that far. You know, I'm the type of person I wouldn't have minded if there was no shell articulation at all. He's underneath the shell. He doesn't really need to move around that much underneath this shell. But they did go ahead and add in some under the shell articulation. So that was pretty cool. I don't think I got too into the splits as far as the first figure goes, but it looks like that's about as far as he can do the split. So. But he is wearing like a 75-pound rubber suit with all kinds of servos in it. So I guess we can forgive Ernie Reyes Jr., the stunt performer. Yes, the stunt performer in the movie was Ernie Reyes Jr., who was at the time a very famous child martial artist. I believe he was just getting into his teenage years at the time. He's a few years older than me, so he's like pushing 60, I think, at this point. But he came in and played the stunt performer for Donatello when the original stunt performer was injured, and they liked him so much they wrote him the role of Kino in the second movie. So that's how Kino became a character. But I was always a fan of Ernie Reyes Jr. from his TV movie The Last Electric Warrior and the follow-up TV series called Sidekicks, in which he played a young martial artist who was adopted by Gil Gerard, yes, Buck Rogers himself. And I was a huge fan of Buck Rogers. I was a huge fan of, martial arts, like every kid in the 80s was. And, Head Over Diecast says, okay, bud, back to work. Glad I could hear your favorite part of the movie. Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. Yep. Well, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie. I don't know if it's my most favorite. That's a hard movie for me to pick out one most favorite part because there's so many great scenes in that movie. The 1990 Ninja Turtles movie is, I think, one of the best comic book movies ever made. For me, like the goated comic book adaptations, and we wouldn't have, the renaissance of comic book movies that we just went through, if not for these building the bridge, building the foundation, is Superman the movie 1978, Batman 1989, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, and The Crow, the only Crow. There's only been one Crow movie. I kind of feel like those four. Those are the ones that set the standard, and their DNA is kind of all over all other superhero movies. And if you don't believe me, you can compare a lot of scenes from the Dark Knight trilogy to The Crow and things like that. So, it's there's a lot of good details on this that I didn't point out on the Michelangelo figure, but you can see like there's some metal studs in the knee pads and things like that. Even though this is a bootleg, Neca put so much detail into the original figure, and the bootleggers actually did a really good job of covering it, I think. So his wrists rotate all the way around, and they have like a horizontal hinge that moves back and forth. He can kick up about that far, which I already showed. And he's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. So I feel like these knees and elbows would probably move a little bit more if they didn't have these elbow and knee pads in the way. But, what are you going to do? And then, of course, like with the elbows, not only do we have the double joint there, but it also rotates all the way around where the knee meets the thigh and where the knee meets, well, not where the knee meets the, I don't know why I was saying that, where the knee meets the calf. It's just a hinge. But it does rotate all around where the knee meets the thigh. So you can get a lot of good poses out of them that way. Donatello's foot can point down about that far, and Donatello's foot can point up about that far. And then that rotates all the way around. So that's on a rocker ankle joint. Excellent action figure. Good quality plastic. Even though, like I said, this is a bootleg. I'm like 99.9999% sure it's a bootleg. If I wasn't sure before, the fact that we had Michelangelo's bio on the back of the Donatello box. That is, as they say, a dead giveaway. So we haven't done too much with his accessories yet. So let's talk about his accessories. And he's got the same sort of gripping hands that Michelangelo had, which I don't like because I know it's going to be a pain in the ass to get the bow staff into this hand. But he can hold the pizza in this hand. Pizza! I need it! So there we go. He's got his pizza. And then he's got those kind of pointing hands. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with the bow staff. And see if we can get it into his hand. And it's probably easier to go through the other side. And yeah, it was definitely easier to go through the other side. I wish that had been an option with Michelangelo, but it just wasn't. And then I should be able to fit the staff into the top of his hand over here much more easily. And then we get a good bow staff kind of stance for Donatello. And that looks good. That's our thumbnail right there. That's going to be our thumbnail. So I did kind of feel like in the movie, Donatello's staff was kind of a little undersized. Like, probably because I was more thinking about how it's drawn in the comics and, of course, how it was on the original action figure. And, yeah, this is not the bow staff that came with the original Donatello. This is a bow staff that came with a movie star bootleg. But the movie star bootleg had 2 bow staffs, and he didn't need 2 bow staffs. So I just gave one to my old Donatello who lost his sometime in the 1990s. And that's also not, I also like to point out, that's also not the belt that came with this Donatello originally. That's the wacky action Donatello belt. You can tell by the purple belt buckle. But yeah, I felt like his bow staff was a little undersized, and it definitely could have been longer and thicker than this. It could have not only had more length, but more girth. Yeah? See, I gave you that one for free. Yeah. But he looks really good holding it. And like I said, since I was able to go through the finger and the thumb are fused on that left hand, and I don't like that. That's going to cause some problems for the other 2 boys when I open them up. But thankfully, it was fairly easy to get it set up on this guy. Like I said, even if it hadn't been, I probably could have used like this hand and kind of rested the bow staff in it. So that would have been fine. Anyway, and then I got 2 slices of pizza here for Michelangelo and Donatello. And I'm looking at them just sitting on my desk. And I do believe that these are the same exact piece of pizza. And that just the paint just kind of is a little different on each of them. But I don't even think it's a paint variation. I don't think that was even done intentionally. I think that's just because there's so many little bits there with the olives and the green peppers that they kind of there's no pepperoni on this pizza, which surprises me. Like I'd see one of the videos that I was watching where I was looking more into the official NECA figures so I can know a little bit more of the differences. Some of those I'd noticed that one of those he'd said that there was anchovies on the pizza, but I know there's no anchovies on the pizza because Michelangelo was very specific about that in the movie, that he wanted no anchovies. He's very, very, very irate about those anchovies. So there's definitely not anchovies on that pizza. So anyway, that's it for Donatello. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the other fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure and the character of Donatello in general. I had a lot of high praise to sing for this design of Donatello as far as the work that the Jim Henson Creature Shop did in bringing this character to life. And I had a lot of high praise for Neca in their interpretation of this character. And I had a lot of high praise for the unknown bootleggers that copied the Neca figure in such exacting detail that that he wound up... I think they did a slightly better job with Donatello than they did with Michelangelo. At least his eyes aren't as creepy looking as Michelangelo's. I don't think they did a better job painting the eyes than Michelangelo necessarily. I think the eyes, as I can see them, don't look as good as the Neca figure would have looked either. But since Donatello's eyes are set like a little bit more deeply in his head, and they aren't emphasized as much as Michelangelo's eyes, I feel like it works out better. And we still got 2 more of the boys to open, because we still got Leonardo, who is the leader of the group, and we've got Raphael and his poor destroyed box. Raphael just took the worst hit. This package is so beat up, I should just let it soak in a bathtub for several days. But yeah, Leonardo is going to be next. And we'll see if Leonardo turned out as well as Donatello. You can see he's got a little bit of a higher belt too, but I think it more sits how it's supposed to sit in the movie than with Donatello's belt. He's got the distinctive double strap there. Excuse me. That Leonardo is usually portrayed with. And hey, it looks like Leonardo is the boy that's supposed to go right directly next to Michelangelo. So that's how that puzzle fits together. So we can talk more about that when we open him up. But I'm not sure how Donatello is going to fit into all this. It looks like Donatello fits on the other side of Leonardo, because that looks like that's where the other part of his hand and the handle for the katana is. And I wonder where Raphael's going to fit, if he's going to, which side he's going to go on to, because I don't see any hint of him on these figures at all. But of all the brothers, he stands alone, doesn't he? So anyway, everything's falling all over the place. There we go. But yeah, Leonardo's next. We'll open up Leonardo next. I'm going to put these boxes back together. I'm probably going to throw these boxes out. I usually keep NECA boxes, and if they were in better shape, I would have even kept the bootleg NECA boxes. Like, I'm pretty sure that April figure that I opened last week, I'm pretty sure that she is a bootleg, but I'm keeping that box. It's a nice box, and it's a little banged up, but not as bad as poor old Raphael. And like I said, Raphael, then Michelangelo, then Donatello, and Leonardo's box came pretty much unscathed. It does have a little bit of a dent at the top, but Leonardo's also says Michelangelo is the easy. Yeah, well, tell me about Leonardo. This is his box, bootleggers. Come on, some of us actually read English, and we want a unique bio for the leader of the group, the real leader of the group, not Raphael. Raphael, you're my favorite. Don't get me wrong, but you're not the leader of the group. I don't know what partners in crime were thinking, but good song, but not exactly accurate in describing who is the leader of the group. I'm just saying. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.